I said, God, I need help. That something needs to give. I don't want to be this depressed person anymore. I don't want to be someone that doesn't like themselves. I don't want to be someone who relies on sex to feel fulfilled. I don't want to be someone who relies on the words of men to feel like confident. God, I need something else. I need more. And until you get to that desperate moment, nothing will shift. If you're anything like I used to be, then you are probably feeling like you don't belong, you don't have a place in this world, you don't know where you're meant to be, and you don't know what you're meant to be doing. You just feel like you're almost an outcast, and there's just no place. No matter what you try, no matter what you do, you don't know where you fit in. No matter who you're around, it just doesn't fit. It's like you're trying to put the puzzle pieces together, but they're just not correct. I'm lakeishaa, and I want to tell you a little story about my life. When I was about 12 to 20, I was the most loneliest, sad, and isolated person that you'd ever meet. But looking at me from the outside, you'd never know. I was extremely lonely. I was extremely sad. I just felt like no one liked me and no one accepted me. I just felt like there was such a lack of love, such a lack of community, such a lack of friends. Like, I grew up with barely any friends. I grew up with barely any real connections. I felt like such an outcast in my family. Being the youngest, being the one that I felt was just misunderstood and always judged. I always felt like I didn't fit into any friends that I made. I felt like I just didn't have the same interests as them. And I just felt like, I don't know what I'm doing on this earth. I don't know what the point of me being here is. I hated how I looked. Oh my gosh, I had such bad body dysmorphia. I hated the fact that I was so skinny. I hated the fact that I didn't have a curvy body. I didn't like myself. I didn't know myself, and I didn't like myself. And I began to really just despise who I was without even really acknowledging that's how I felt. I just tried to mask it. I began to smoke. I began to date, have sex, drink. I began to do everything just to avoid the feeling of feeling lonely and sad and just like, who am I? And you know, when you don't know who you are, you'll begin to take on the identity of things to see if it fits. You'll begin to try on different personalities to see if it fits. You'll begin to maybe drink, maybe smoke, maybe have sex, maybe go out partying, maybe wear certain types of clothes, maybe speak a certain way to see if it fits. Sometimes we'll get random piercings, tattoos. We're trying to find ourselves in all of these things, but then there just comes a point where you figure out that I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. I don't know what I'm here for. And if that is how you feel, then I want to give you a bit of advice. Now, when I was going through that, I was lonely because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what I was called to do. I didn't have any direction. I had no sense of direction. I didn't know my left from my right. I didn't know who I was meant to be. And I felt like I didn't have any guidance into who I was meant to be. And so during that time, I'd always cry out to God and I would say, God, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. I'm so lonely. I hate my life. What am I meant to do? This is from 12 up until 20. I was 18, I gave my life to Christ, but I was still so unfulfilled. I didn't know what I was meant to do. It was good for a while and then it wasn't. I went back into the world. I started fornicating again, drinking, smoking. I was worse than I ever was. Simply because I had no direction. And the best thing I ever done was accept where I was. I stopped trying to avoid it. I stopped trying to hide it. I stopped trying to act like this wasn't my reality. But I said, God, I'm struggling and I'm drowning. I was drowning in depression. I was drowning in the feelings of I hate my life and I hate myself and I don't want to live anymore. I was drowning in that to a point where there was no saving me. Like, I knew there was nothing I could do within my power. So I cried out to God. I said, God, I need help. And I think a lot of us don't understand the power in just crying out to God and saying, God, I need help. I need you to intervene. Otherwise, I don't know what is going to happen next. I don't know where I'm going to go from here. I need your help. And I think sometimes we pray that prayer without actually believing that anything will happen. Or we're almost not desperate enough. We're too comfortable where we are and we think that this is just who I am. But no, it doesn't have to be who you are. It may be where you are, but it doesn't have to be who you are. You are so much more than where you are right now. And I just wish I had someone to tell me in that moment that I'm so much more than I thought I was. I'm more than where I am. But instead I accepted that situation and I took on the identity as myself. I started thinking, this is just who I am. I'm just a side guy. I have nothing to offer. I don't know who I am. There's nothing great about me. I'm just okay. And that's where my insecurities came from, because I had no direction. I didn't know who I was in life. I didn't know where I was meant to go. I felt like I had no value. I had nothing to offer this world. I had nothing to offer anyone. And so I'll constantly be trying to find my value in men. That as long as they liked me and as long as they told me I'm pretty and I'm cute, then I felt like, yeah, I'm that girl. Because someone told me, someone affirmed that, but I didn't know who I was without anyone telling me. And so the moment I cried out to God, I said, God, I need help. And I earnestly prayed that because I was going through it. The moment I just said, God, I'm giving it to you. I need help. At that time, I was down bad. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't living a life that people expect Christians to live. Oh no, I was doing everything I shouldn't be doing under the sun. But my heart was crying out for God. Because let me tell you something, giving your life to Christ doesn't mean you're going to have a perfect life. No, it doesn't. But having that heart posture where you're constantly yearning for God and you are desperate because you know that only He can sustain you, that's what changes your life. That's what changes your posture. It's the heart posture. It's not the fact that, oh, I gave my life to Christ. Oh, I'm living this way. No, but it's your relationship with God. Because only God can help you out of certain situations. So when I was feeling like that, I was crying out to God. I said, God, I need help. Because it was only God that could help me. My family couldn't help me. No one could help me. Kind words couldn't help me. I was so tired of being insecure. I was so tired of being depressed. I was tired of hating myself. I said, God, I need help. That something needs to give. I don't want to be this depressed person anymore. I don't want to be someone that doesn't like themselves. I don't want to be someone who relies on sex to feel fulfilled. I don't want to be someone who relies on the words of men to feel like confident. God, I need something else. I need more. And until you get to that desperate moment, nothing will shift. So I got desperate. I said, God, I need help. I need help. I was crying out because I was drowning and people were noticing. Like, you know, like when you try and hide things and then it comes to a point where you can't hide it no more. Baby girl, when you can't hide it no more, give it to God. Because when you can't hide it no more, that's when it's serious. If you're anything like I would hide everything that was wrong with me. You would never be able to tell what was wrong with me. You'll never be able to know my weakness. Because I saw emotion as weakness. So I never was able to get help. But I knew I needed it. And so I cried out to God. I got desperate. I cried out to God. And that's when God led me to church. Now, I'm not saying this is the way it will work for everyone. But I'm saying when you get desperate enough to cry out to God, a solution will come. When the Israelites cried out to God because of the harsh labor they were under, because of the slavery they were under, God prepared a Moses. God prepared a Moses. So when you cry out to God, He will begin preparations, but He needs your submission. He needs you to yield yourself to Him. He needs you to say, God, I give you my all. I need help. I get rid of the pride. I loose it. Because sometimes we hide how we feel. Out of pride. Oh no, I'm not like that. I'm not depressed. I'm just a little bit sad. Accept where you are, but don't accept it as who you are. Accept where you are and let God deal with it. Because I think this is an AA meeting. You first have to say, I'm an addict. That's the first step of recovery. Admitting where you are. Admitting where you are so that God can set you loose. You can't be loose from something if you don't admit that you're tired. So this whole denial that I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm just a strong woman, girl, it's not going to get you anywhere. So I'm here as your big sis, as your encourager to let you know that give it to God. And not just, oh, I'm praying, but it's not happening. No, give it to God to a point you're so desperate. You're doing anything so God can hear you. Haggai called God the God who sees me. She understood that God saw her where she is. He met her where she was. You don't need to be the perfect person for God to help. You don't need to be deemed as worthy when none of us are worthy. But you do need to surrender yourself to Him. Because nothing is going to get better until you surrender yourself to God. When you surrender truly, when you are crying out and you're like, God, I need help, that's when you will see a change. That's when I saw a change. That is when you will see the biggest change that you'll ever see in your life. Being lonely, feeling like the outcast, feeling like you don't know who you are, that is okay. Because that is a place where a lot of people go through in life. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do need to have a plan of how you're going to have it all figured out. You know, you don't need to know how to figure it out. But okay, what are you going to do to be able to begin to figure it out? Because one thing about me and the Holy Spirit go like that. I'm going to ask God, what next? Because let God order your steps. Don't try and figure it out on your own. Don't try and self-medicate. Don't try and distract yourself. But let God in and let God take over. This is the best advice you'll get. Give it to God. And I know it sounds so easy, like, oh, just give it to God. I mean, no, it's deeper than that. No, giving it to God isn't as easy as it sounds, but it's also not as complicated as you may think. Give it to God. Let Him in. Give Him a chance to reveal Himself to you. That is my advice for today. I am here to uplift you, to encourage you, to take you from the pit you are in and take you out. I'm showing you Jesus, babes. But if you are new to my channel, I am Lakeishaa and I am so glad you watched till the end. I make faith-based content, I make motivational videos, girl talks, all stuff to encourage you into becoming the best version of yourself. If that is something you'll be interested in, then please subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. But I will see you in my next video. Bye.